because you're too busy with too many other things, you need to just step aside, move down to another position, let somebody else move up in the presidency. The RCD board, the way I understand it, is like the parent over the WAC board. So when we are not getting anywhere with the WAC board, our only option is to go to the RCD board. Per the paperwork that I have here in front of me, the budget and everything is supposed to come before you guys before, I believe the date is August 15th, and so even that time frame is getting very short for you guys. So this is why we are under the impression that you, as the supervisors, have some type of say, some type of ability to assist us.
On that budget question, so you mentioned you went to file a complaint with a court, did you say? And they wouldn't allow it because?
Yes, I went to the court. They aren't aware of how you would file, what you would file, so they sent me over across the hall to Access to Justice. They spoke with their attorney that they had. He's under the impression, per their rules and regulations, that the 15-day time frame to object will actually start when it is filed with the courts. Per RCD's rules and regulations, it is supposed to be filed with the courts by June 15th. I went to the courts today, had the printouts of Baxter Creek, Parker Creek, and Susan River. Still to this day, no budget, no information that is supposed to be submitted has been submitted to the courts. So we're not able to submit our objection to the courts so that when the judge sees the budget, she knows that there's a complaint in front of her against it. And like John Richards says, we are objecting because per their own audits, there's all this money that's been carried over from year to year. I spoke with the treasurer before last month's meeting started at the RCD office, and he stated that yes, there is over $200,000 somewhere in an account. He wasn't able to come up with the information as to where it's sitting at. During the open floor portion of the RCD meeting, we had numerous people, a few people stand up and object to the budget, how they're assessing us, things like that.
So you're saying that the court can't help you because the RCD
Has not
put their
submitted
stuff in order?
the paperwork like they're supposed to, correct.
And then you mentioned another date of August 15th that we have to adopt their budget?
That is, yes, right here.
And the budget you're referring to that's creating a problem with the court, is that last year's budget? Or?
It is this coming fiscal year for the 13-14 year budget. And they're assessing us more. They're charging all of us water users more, and yet there's still money sitting there. This isn't,
Just as a matter of interest, is that on our future agenda by the 15th of August?
I think it's incorrect. We do not adopt the RCD.
Okay.
You have the results.
and that is the frustration for a lot of us when you read their rules and regulations and try to work within the rules. You get the same old thing. Well, we don't know nothing about it. Go over here, we go to there. They don't know nothing about it, and there's no answer.
Jim, I have a question for Mr. Nichols. Do we have a copy that's been filed with us that's printed as part of the overall county
Not
budget?
that I'm aware of.
In this,
They clearly have to file with the.
Their budget is submitted to us.
Yeah, I thought it was printed in.
It was January 31st, 2013, was the, it came from the audit team.
all I'm going by, Bob, is in the court paperwork here that we all received on Baxter Creek, Susan River, and Parker Creek. Under, on page 3, I can let you guys see this, section C, I know Larry has a copy of the stuff.
And I apologize, I thought that all the board members were gonna get this one.
I had
Instruction like that.
made the copy for you, and I apologize, because I was under the assumption you were gonna get other
No, they
copies
were,
made.
yeah, I sent an email
So-
to distribute it, yeah.
We don't want to confuse the RCD budget with the water master service budget. The RCD budget does come with the water master service budget, not necessarily.
Okay, the proposed
Be my-
budget.
I think that's my recollection, Trina.
Okay, and all I can go off of
Yeah.
is what I have in front of me,
Yes.
which is the court paperwork that says under C, the proposed budget and apportionment shall be served by mail on the water rights holder within the
Right.
Susan River Master and filed within the courts before June 15th. As you continue to read, then it goes on that requiring that the water master certify apportionments to the Lawson County Auditor by August 15th for inclusion on the property tax bills. Such objections are to be heard and decided by August 10th in order to affect the current fiscal year. If an objection is not heard and decided by August 10th, the current fiscal year budget and apportionment shall be unaffected, and the results of the objections, if any, shall be reflected. So, today is already July 23rd. August 10th is coming fast. Those of us that are objecting to this budget, we don't know where to go, how to do, what to do. And we're not getting any answers from RCD.
Jim
I think-
first,
Yeah,
and Bob.
I think, Mr. Chairman, that answered the question. I don't think we as a board adopt any budget, but we as a board are required to receive, because we have like the Honey Lake Valley TV, the Honey Lake TV budget, they're in the back as like an appendix, so there's a record for them, and that's where I think we receive.
Well, and again, don't confuse the water master service budget, I know you
No, I
don't.
realize,
know
but
you
I'm
don't.
talking about the
And
RCD.
the RCD budget.
I'm talking about the
They're two
RCD
different-
budget, because we have seen that budget over the years, but
Right.
it comes to us not as a requirement for our consent, but as a matter of consolidating the documents into a place for the public at least to be able to go and see where the documents and what the budgets are for these various entities.
We also have a duty to administer the property tax system.
Right,
So-
exactly.
Because we send out the bills, and that's what's
Yeah.
being referred to.
And-
We have to
That's
get them to the auditor, so she can put them on the bills and send
Right.
out to all the property owners in the county, and then they make.
But
the
that's why
payment.
it's in the back of the budget as a document, because you have to have that information to be able to sustain that.
And this is why, as a person living in Lawson County, we believe that the supervisors have some type of oversight or say over it, only due to the fact that it comes on our tax bills. We're trying to follow the rules, we're trying to object to their budget, which then was supposed to be approved on the RCD meeting on June, at the end of June, which that meeting was just ended. And, anyways, time's running out for all these little, per certain dates that we have. We need assistance.
I think it was answered, but being as, when Mr. Egan sends out the property tax bills, he collects taxes for school districts, fire districts, and, the water master fees. But being that does come to the county auditor, wouldn't we have a copy of that budget available for us? Obviously, the county has it, they couldn't put it out on the tax.
There's your.
Right, yes. We
Karen,
have
you
a
can
copy of the water master budget, and my office requires that we receive that with, certification of costs for water master services. So last year, we received, the water master budget was approved on July 25th by a 4/5 vote of the RCD. Along with that came the minutes and a listing of apportionments to be billed the users of the Susan River Water Master area. So we received the Water Master budget, not the full RCD budget.
Right, and the water master budget will serve the needs of the water master service. That money don't go to RCD for the other resource conservation work, that's the water master, correct?
Correct, there is a portion that is being charged for Tim Kesey, for Mary, for office supplies, things like that,
The
for Jeff's,
RCD, part of their resource
contract.
conservation work, do they have another source of income other than a part of the grant?
Sure.
They get a
RCD
percent of the
sure
grant,
does.
but they don't have any fees or anything that I'm aware of.
No, we do not.
No, there are no
They
fees.
do not, okay, I didn't think you did, I just wanted to clarify it.
John, do you have anything you want to add to this discussion? I mean, I'll give you a chance on other things, but just at this point, if you would, because I know we've got some
Yeah,
others.
just to clarify some things, the water master fees are gonna run 150 to 170,000 a year in, year out, depending on what happens. Last year, we had a carryover, okay, and the fees were cut in half. Now everybody says, well, you doubled our fees. Well, people are gonna run 150 to 170,000 a year, okay, without any major lawsuits or what have you. Okay, as far as John Richards saying, we need $1.5 million by 2014, I don't know where he gets his figures. I don't know where he gets his figures, okay? The RCD board right now is financially fairly stable. Okay, we only get 10% of our money from the water district. That's only, this water master thing's only 10% of our, the rest of it we get in grants, like Phil Nemers, WIMRP, is, we have budgeted in there $250,000 for manager fees. We were supporting Scott Phillips, okay, paying his salary, but we've been reimbursed through NRICS, for his wages, and they have since hired him in a full-time position. But, you know, $1.5 million by 2014, I don't think so.
Mike, you had your hand up, you want to come up and stand at the podium, Mr. Trask? You had a hard act to follow there.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it.
This is yesterday.
Yeah. Mike Trask from out of Janesville. And my first question would be, I guess, Marty? For council?
You may.
Wouldn't this board have an oversight of the RCD when it says right in the court docs and the bylaws, rules and regulations and bylaws for RCD, that they are supposed to certify to the auditor, the tax collector, and to the board of supervisors that everything has been done proper, quote, rules and bylaws?
May answer the question if you know it or.
We certainly have to see the bylaws, and I'm unclear whether or not the bylaws and the rules and regulations are two separate documents or a single one. But essentially, we'd have to look at I think what you're talking about deals more with the water master agreement. Principally, the RCD is an independent interlocal government the board has no control over.
Correct. But in the court docs and the rules and bylaws of that district for the water master service, not the RCD budget, but for the water master service, they're supposed to certify to the auditor, tax collector, and the board of supervisors that it's supposed to be done.
I understand that certification, that's just for purposes of including the water bills on the tax roll. I mean, all we're really doing is a collection service here.
Correct. Well, my point getting, like my wife started on, thanks to Karen and everything, I've got copies of all the years since we started in 2008, and per the regulations, rules, whatever you want to call them, that from 7/1/11 through 6/30/12, no budget was in with the paperwork, just everybody's name and what they were being charged for. There was no copy of the budget, and the supervisors were not notified for that year. Then from 7/1/10 through 6/30/11, no budget was submitted with the paperwork to withdraw the money. On 7/1/09 through 6/30/10, no budget, and the supervisors were not notified again. From 7/1/08, 6/30/09, no budget. And we picked up the court papers today, like my wife said, and the Superior Court of Lassen County has no record of anything being filed, no budgets being filed with the court to let the court know how much money is to be withdrawn from everybody's put on their tax roll. So my point is that they're taking the tax money and it's not being properly properly certified, and I don't know who the oversight would be on that.
There is no tax money. There is fees for the water service. There are no property taxes, there are no special assessments. There's no tax money. The county is serving as a collection agency for the water master agreement. And I think what you're referring to is the responsibility of the RCD board to certify those numbers. The auditors should include them on the tax roll.
Correct.
We use the property tax system to collect it, but it's not a tax.
Correct.
May I ask a question
Trina,
regarding
sure.
that, council?
Go ahead.
I needed to ask you if that does not put your property in jeopardy if you don't pay that fee then. If you object to their budget and how they're handling the money and accounting for the money, and you don't pay that portion on your property tax, does it put your property in jeopardy then, since you're saying it's a fee and not a tax?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
It's potentially, if somewhere in the agreement it becomes a lien against your property, then obviously, you know,
So it does jeopardize
Richard,
it.
you want to add
Richard,
something?
that's Mr. Egan.
So it is somewhat of a complicated question, but when, the way the process works, the RCD board, acting as the water master under delegation from the Superior Court, certifies to the auditor that they've done certain things, including the notices and adopting the budget timely and so forth. Certifies that information to the auditor. The auditor then places that on the tax roll to be collected, not as a tax, but like taxes, and it attaches and becomes a lien just like taxes for the purpose of collection. So, and it also requires the RCD to, and I think it's a perfunctory act, to submit that certified charge to the Board of Supervisor and to myself, and obviously the auditor. Now, whether or not that certification has been done appropriately, I think is what Mr. Trask is getting at.
They're withdrawing the money illegal according to the rules, bylaws, and the court docs, because who's to certify it? Because we've never been notified. I know you haven't been, Jack, because I've talked to you,
Yeah.
getting the certification. This year is the first year that everybody's been properly notified on what they're supposed to be charged and everything, ever since we took it over.
Let me hear Karen, and that'll take care of staff's
And,
clarification.
right, and I would agree, I think what John Richards had mentioned, kind of classified things as growing pains. When the water master services were taken over by the RCD, things, you know, it wasn't smooth the first couple of years. And yes, things could have gone better, definitely, as far as certifications and what have you. Last year, I feel that everything that was better. I received the certification, the approved budget, and enrolled those fees on the tax rolls. Hopefully this year, I understand that the budgets did go out to water users, and that I'm anticipating I'll receive the approved budget and the listing of fees that will go on this year's tax roll.
Aaron,
Any
you have any
questions?
questions or comments? Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, I want to kind of stay with Richard and Karen here a little bit following the money trail. So, Richard, you take and you collect the fees on the property taxes. And so we'll just say, for sake of argument, it's $100,000. Now, that money goes to Karen, correct? And Karen, now what do you do with that $100,000? Do you just take and write a check for $100,000 to RCD?
Yes.
Or do you just hold that money and then as they submit, say, a bill to you for so much a month, and then you give them the money as it comes, or you just do it all in one lump sum and it's there?
We apportion it 2 to 3 times a year, after the first installment in December, the second installment in April, and then there may be a settlement in, before the end of the fiscal year in June. And we apportion based on what's collected. So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
So they don't submit an invoice or
She said-
anything,
she
because
said
that's
free
what the
checks.
certification did.
Okay.
Thank you, Aaron.
And
Bob? Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. No, let Aaron finish on that.
And then,
He's got more to do.
is it your responsibility to audit them, or is that you have to get an independent auditor to come in and audit their book?
They have to be audited by an independent auditor. So, and they've done that. I think Robert Johnson has been their auditor for the last 2 fiscal years.
And do you peer review that at all, or?
I review them and look for any weaknesses that the auditor might identify, and, or, you know, just any flags. And there, in the last 2 audits, there hasn't been anything included in their audited financials that has alarmed me.
Thank you, Karen.
Bob?
Yeah, 2 questions, one for Karen. I think I heard from Mike that when this budget is submitted to you, to turn over to Rich and collect the money, it has to be certified that the board of supervisors have been notified of the budget. Is that true? Is that happening? Wait, how is it certified? I've never seen it myself.
It's certified by the RCD board. Basically, it's just language at what's submitted to me. It'd say, you know, I certify that this budget was approved at the June 15th board meeting of the Honey Lake Resource.
And a copy was supposed to be sent to us, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Along with a
Getting that?
listing.
Are we getting that, or am I just?
Probably as a user.
I think-
He gets-
All these years that I've written down here, you guys have not received a copy.
Okay, good enough.
I have as a user.
So,
Okay,
If
question
they
for
send it
Richard,
out.
I don't think you answered the person's question. When you send out a tax bill, you could have, you know, junior college bond, you know, Susan Fire District, or Water Master Fee, my property taxes. I can't choose which one of those I want to pay or not pay.
That's correct, you cannot choose.
If I cut out $500, whatever, my tax bill is gonna be delinquent, my property is gonna be in jeopardy, and in 5 years, you will sell my property. So if, I think the person's asking is, if they don't pay the water master fee, does that put their property in jeopardy? Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, but I don't think that was got answered. Thank you.
Yeah, Larry?
Isn't the crux of the complaint that if you're not really afforded the opportunity to protest because things aren't being done in a timely manner to allow you to protest, so you're stuck whatever they put. If you get a bill all of a sudden from Richard that's 5 times more than it was last year, you have no remedy,
No reason.
way to recourse, because you try and go to the court or whatever, they say, no, well, the budget hasn't been hit, so that deadline's back. So you either pay it or you pay it, or you pay, that's it.
Bend over.
And so that's troubling.
That's what I'm saying. To follow the rules and bylaws, it'd be so simple to do, so somebody's got a recourse for a rebuttal against something. And it's not only got to do with the budget, but as you got in the paperwork, it's with the complaints all the way through. Mr. Powell even had that last year. He got it reversed and everything. You didn't do this right on the paperwork. You didn't do this right. Didn't have to resubmit it. Well, when we redid all this years ago, it took 3 years to put all this together before we could do it and go all over the North State to water districts all over the place and get a combination of rules and bylaws. And then that's what we came up with to run this deal here. And other people have put in other changes in there, like wanting to whack to run it and stuff like that, but they don't have any authority to do it according to these rules and bylaws unless they change them. And they're not the best, but that's what we have to follow, and that's the biggest problem with everything. Everything is not being followed for the paperwork that we have to run. Budget included, which nobody has any recourse. You can't file anything like my wife said, so you get stuck with it. They're not hearing the complaints. They take your water away from you. The water master doesn't call you back for 3 days. You call the chairman, he says file a complaint, you file a complaint, and then boom, here we are at the end of July from the 1st of March, and nothing has been done. You can't get your case heard.
Jim? Sorry, John, I'll catch you in a
It
minute.
sounds like, Mr. Chairman, that there is a clearly defined process. And the process is established for the purposes to provide recourse to the individuals that are involved. And it sounds like county staff has been accommodating the process whether these deadlines have been met or not. And so I think maybe one way to get the attention of the people responsible for doing the work, i.e. in this case the RCD board, have to make these mandatory filings, that if some year, like this year, if they miss those deadlines, and rather than having county staff kind of like just pretend like everything is normal. Say, okay, fine, we missed the deadline, those collections don't go on the tax bill, they're not gonna be collected from the tax, and it'll be incumbent upon then the RCD board to use other means to try to collect those dollars. So whatever sort of disputes they have over budgets and hearings and appeals and, you know, and that, they can sort it out with the court. The tax system is only designed to be used as a convenient method to assist these folks to get the job done. But if they miss those deadlines, you know, as a member of this board, I would suggest to county staff, this is to the auditor and to the treasurer and to others who administer the property tax system, don't include them. And let them figure out how they're gonna go and collect the money that they have. If they don't collect the money, I guess they can't fund the contracts, and everything that they would do would come to a screeching halt. I guess everybody's on their own, and it'd be the old Wild West all over again.
It is never, wow.
But, you know, but I'm saying though, is to put the county in the position where, as their dysfunction, you know, we just sort of kind of like cover. Now, I realize maybe as this transition from the state system, that maybe there were a lot of hiccups, and maybe, you know, that was, you know, fine. But I gotta tell you, I'm listening to a lot of complaints out here, and the system is the system, and to kind of bend those rules. If they have to have those documents by August 10th or August 15th, whatever it is, in order to get on the tax bill, you know, we provide a service as an opportunity to use to do it, but there's nothing that requires it has to be done. If they want to go collect the fee some other way, they're free to do that. And I'd say, why accommodate them? And if they can't get along and they can't work it out and make it work, then we just step back and not put the county in the position where we're, you know, aiding and abetting their dysfunction.
Mr. Richards had his hand up, and then Mr. Caboti.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'll ask Jim on his,
Sure.
So, that's a great idea, but so what has to happen for that, can we do a